Hello and good morning from here in the United States. I'm Jason Sterling. I'm a member of the EA Creator Network, and as such, not really this video. This video is a reflection of the live stream, but typically when you see videos that I do, some of the packs within the streams or videos were provided free of charge by the EA Creator Network. In this case, the live stream was provided free of charge too. to everybody. Everybody can see the live stream. This is the last word on what this pack kind of contains before you decide if you're going to buy it in a few days on Thursday, coming up Thursday the 25th of next week. So we're going to take a look at the live stream here and see if it's kind of improved my impression of this pack over the first two trailers, which the first two trailers were remarkably similar. They both seem like kind of almost the same thing to me. So we'll see what the live stream has to offer. Start off with the cast selection for this pack. We're going to jump in with the cast selection. This is kind of typical with these live streams, I think. It seems like a lot of times they usually do cast selection. The cast items look good. I will say that right off the bat. Both cast and build buy to me looks good. Some of it looks great. Some of it looks really good. The pack, Lovestruck, makes a really good stuff pack. It does. It makes a really good $40 stuff pack. And so far, I like some of the build items we're seeing. I like some of the clothes. I like the build buy assets. None of that is unusual. I usually do. I'm a builder and a storyteller, so I usually do like a lot of that sort of stuff, and this is no exception. The one thing I would say about cast, and you can see it as we're playing through here, does any of this look culturally significant to you? We're going to touch on this a couple of times, but the fact of the matter is that this pack has been promoted as being
when you really need to make a statement.
Mexico City, or at least Mexico, right? Now, I don't want a sort of stereotypical tourist postcard view of Mexico in this pack, but I do think that nothing in the cast selections really, by and large, most of it, same thing coming up with build buy in the world, really seems to reflect that. I mean, we're going to go over the world later. I'm about to get into it now, but we'll wait a little bit because I'm following the progression of the live stream. But at the end of the day, nothing here really speaks super big to me as a cultural type of thing. Now, I guess you could make the argument that Mexico is part of North America, and as such, much like Canada, the styles you see here in the United States or Canada or Mexico tend to bleed back and forth a little bit. You could make that argument, and maybe there's something to that. Maybe it doesn't look that different to me, but I don't think it's going to look different to anybody in the rest of the world either. I think most of what we're seeing here looks like our standard cast selections, just slightly different. And I'm going to add real quick, super, the one thing I do not like, more ripped up jeans. More ripped up jeans with this cast selection. How many people out there really are going around all the time wearing torn up jeans? That was kind of a fad for a while. Sometimes you still see it. But in The Sims, you would get the impression that literally 50% of the population out there in the world is going around wearing these ripped up jeans. I don't see it. I just don't get it. But okay.
And he's also got one of our super cute.
Now, some things in cats, like I said, I do really like. The costumes are a lot of fun. I don't really see them as role-playing costumes, for the nighttime, if you get my drift. They are cute. They're cute costumes. But yeah, I don't really see anybody getting dressed up as a giant peach. And the only thing that comes to my mind when I see that is James and the Giant Peach, which is like a kid's book. So it's a little bit of a turnoff. But I don't see anybody getting dressed up as a giant peach to hop into bed, right? So a lot of this sort of costume role playing is definitely geared towards a more lighthearted, sort of whimsical, funny sort of view. Now, some of that I do like what I love. This is one of my favorites. I'm going to put a picture here. I consider this the X-rated Disney on Ice. So, if you wanted to pretend that you were in the Disney Ice Capades and it's an X-rated version, they've got something set for you. And I do really like it. I think it's super cute. I might use that in real life. In fact, I might look that up on eBay and see if I can find a copy of that. Now, also included in the new cast selections here is a change from the husband-wife selection to spouse. Now, on one hand, I see this as a very good change, a very positive change. Should we have spouse as an option for people who prefer a non-gendered term? Yes, we should. Just like we have the non-gendered they added to he and she, we should have the non-gendered spouse added to husband and wife, right? I do believe that. I don't really know why they took out husband and wife, though. It would be on par to my way of thinking of, well, we've added they and everybody fits in they, so let's just take out he, she because they is non-gendered. And they didn't do that, right? They left he and she, and I don't know why they would take out husband and wife and leave just the non-gendered option. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't agree with that part. And here's the complete reason why. Sims don't care. Your sim in game will not act any different if you call them married, husband, wife, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, or most of the time if they just met, because Sims define their actions based on your friendship bar and your romance bar, tempered and kind of mediated by your traits, right? Right. So what that means is if you're a jealous type of sim, whether you've just met or you're boyfriend and girlfriend, or you are partners, or you are spouses, or you are husband and wife, your sim's going to act just as jealous in exactly the same ways because those terms really don't mean anything to the sim. Just like he, she, and they, that does not mean anything to the sim. Your game, your sims in game will not treat each other different. You can label every single male in your game she, and they're not going to act or be treated any different based on just the changing of that term because Sims don't care. Sims don't care. They're not programmed to care, but the player cares. And that's the important thing. The player cares. That's why they need to be included because the player needs to be able to feel that connection to the sim they just created in the game they're playing, which is a life simulation game. So if they go by they, if that's their pronoun, if that's what they're comfortable using, then that's what they want to have in game. And the same thing goes, in my opinion, for husband and wife. If you're comfortable with spouse, I think that's great. That's why it should be there. So should partner, as far as I'm concerned, too. But if you're comfortable with husband and wife, and that's how you define your relationship, and that's how you see yourself, which a lot of people do, why not have that option too? And I've heard a few excuses about programming and stuff like that. No, it really doesn't matter. The same program that's used for spouse is the exact same programming that's used for husband and wife. Because it's just a term to apply to that particular set of programming, and you could literally label it anything. You could label it anything. You could leave it blank. It doesn't matter. Just like you could call every sim it. We could have one pronoun it, and the sims will not care. Okay, so enough of that. Let's look here. The next thing we have is romantic boundaries. These are new to the game with the purchase of this pack. It helps define how your sim will react to romantic situations and helps you define your relationship. Again, this is what defines your relationship. Things like this, not that term, but this is how you define your relationship. Now, this is new. This is really new to the game from Maxis. It's new to be codified into the game, but it's not new. And I say that because it's been available as a option through modifications, through mods, especially really popular mods that a lot of us use all the time, like MC Command Center. And for a long time, for like a really, really long time. And so it's weird because looking at this and I see this sort of stuff, I think that doesn't really feel that new. It doesn't feel new to me because it's been an option essentially for a very long time, but it does feel new to the game insofar as Maxis has not put it into the game until now. If you want those options and you don't like mods, a lot of people don't like using mods. That's a good option. I mean, it's a good addition to the game to actually be a part of the game, right? To be something that you can choose without a modification. Now, we also have two new aspirations. They're like Romantic Explorer and Romantic Paragon. I think, is that right? Aren't they? They're kind of weird because A, we've seen them already in the trailers, and B, they feel a little bit the same to me. I mean, I guess they're really not, but Romantic Explorer is your sim wants to explore everything romance, I guess, has to offer. Now, of course, I'm automatically thinking X-rated. I guess that's going to be everything romance has to offer. Like probably one of your goals at some point with that aspiration is going to be like feed another sim chocolate strawberries, right? Or flirt with another sim. I don't know, flirt with 10 sims or however they do it, right? So that's an option now. And then you have Romantic Paragon, which is kind of their polyamorous sort of addition to the game. The sim wants to have and maintain relationships with multiple sims, and I guess successful relationships. Now, that's new to The Sims 4. we've had that sort of aspiration before in other Sims iterations where I can't remember what it was called, but the idea was, you'd try to have 2 romantic partners, 3, 4 at the same time, and the goal got harder as you went along. I don't know how the aspiration is going to be set up here. Probably something along the same lines as all the aspirations are set up in that same way, like have 2 partners or be married and have a boyfriend at the same time. I don't know, but it's going to be along those lines. I think that's a great addition to the game. I do like it. I think it'll help people kind of, The Sims is kind of about exploring and doing things you might not normally do in real life, right? It's kind of a fantasy sort of game in a lot of ways. So that's kind of cool. I hope it works. I hope every time hoping you and your partner Sim are both of like-minded in that regard, right? And you want to go look for a 3rd or 4th or I don't know. I mean, how many people can you get in that group? I don't know, a bunch, right? However many people you're looking for. I hope that you and your Sim still maintain that equilibrium and the game doesn't go crazy and kind of flip out or glitch out or something or what have you. I really hope that it feels different. I hope the Sims act differently than they typically would act in those situations. But I'm not holding my breath because there are glitches already coming up here in the live stream. And mind you, I'm looking at the calendar. We're only a few days from release. So will the glitches be fixed? Nope. I'm going to say nope. I'm going to say nope. They're not going to get fixed. Not by release date. Now, maybe someday. Okay. I wouldn't even venture a guess, you guys. Maybe someday. I do like they eventually fixed wedding day. I was really disappointed with that. When I played that in advance, it did work. And then I go to do a live stream once it's added to my game, and it did not work. It failed miserably. But meanwhile, I'd already told people, oh, yeah, no, it works. I loved it. Oh, it was so much fun. Once you get a pack added to your game, usually when you're kind of play testing or you have a beta copy of that sort of thing, or you're doing it in advance, a lot of times you are going to have a copy that's not finished. And even more so, a lot of times you're going to have a copy, like with the early access streamers going on right now that have come out really early, that copy is a beta copy and it's only that copy in the base game. Okay. So it's not every pack in the game added to it. It's just that copy in the base game. So it does tend to run a lot smoother and it does tend to have less glitches. Although none, because I've definitely been involved with those really early access opportunities and there were glitches, but a lot less. And then when you put it into your game with what? I don't know, 50? Do we have 50 downloadable content packs now of one form or another, including kits, right? When you add all that in there together, that's when a lot of major glitches start happening. And that's why you can watch a streamer right now really early, do a review on it and tell you how great it is and how it's working. And this is something I've learned over time. I did not realize this at first when I was streaming early like that. I really thought, hey, it works. Oh my God, they finally made one that works when it's released. But when you add it into everything else, then it can break. And I think we're already seeing it break here in game or not work like we would expect it to work. It's just kind of what I'm assuming is just a base game and the pack itself. So long story short, take it with a grain of salt, right? Take people's reviews with a grain of salt. And what you're seeing right now with a grain of salt, I personally would wait until you see it actually in a game from someone who has every single pack, right, using it and see how it works then before you make an ultimate decision. If you're on the fence about it, some people aren't on a fence about it. We'll talk about that at the end. But I mean, some people are probably ready to buy it right now, and that's fine. That's fine. There's different reasons why people buy things, and there are reasons why someone might want to buy this pack even at $40 right now. Okay, also right now, there's again, they touch on things we've already seen in the trailers. You have romantically reserved as a trait and love bug as a trait. What do you think those means? Well, the reserved one means you're kind of shy, and the other one means you're kind of outgoing as far as romantic situations are concerned. That's all that really needs to be said there, but those are also available. After that, of course, we get into the much awaited, much requested likes and dislikes, or turn-ons, turn-offs. We've got likes and dislikes, turn-ons and turn-offs, which have been a thing in previous Sims iterations, right? The idea that your Sim only prefers a certain type of person. Now, the game has fallen back on, the developers have fallen back on just using stuff that's already in the game. So your kind of options are going to be, I don't like brown hair, or I don't like goth fashion, or I don't like someone who's really neat. Now, some of those things are true. I mean, some of that is a turn on and a turn off. That is definitely true. I don't think so much with hair color, although, yeah, maybe you're definitely going to find some people who are like, this chick has bright blue hair, or this guy has carved designs in the side of his head, and I don't like that, right? Although hairstyle, I don't think is included. It's just color. So I don't like that, right? I don't like that. Or, oh my God, look at how they're dressed. I find that a real turnoff. I don't think I don't like it, right? So that is definitely legitimate to add to the game. And yes, to some extent, things like neat, if someone's exceptionally neat and you're really not exceptionally neat, I don't know you're going to find that a turn off. I mean, for one thing, you're not going to know that out at a nightclub, right? I mean, maybe you might maybe they're just so fadishly, put together that you're like, God, they're really anal retentive with their appearance. I bet their house is just crazy anal retentive too. But most people aren't thinking that. I mean, I don't know. I never thought that. I never went out to a nightclub and thought, hey, that person's really hot, but I bet they're just way too neat for me. I mean, it's only going to be a night, you guys. Come on. And I'm joking. Well, I'm not entirely joking there, but you do get that, right? That really a big turn off? I mean, it might be in the long run. I don't know about turn off. Again, you might be really attracted to someone, but it might be hard living with them, right? It might be hard to live with them if they're really neat. Okay, but some of that stuff does kind of tie in. Now, what doesn't tie in because it's not added, and they're probably not going to add it, it requires more programming. This is the easy way. You just take the stuff that's already there, right? Things like fitness level would be a good example. Things like maybe acne, right? Stuff like that. Things that you might in real life, and I'm just being honest here because this is the way a lot of people are, you might actually really find unattractive. So if someone's extremely thin, you might really not like that. That's just not your style. That's not your thing. If someone's really fat, you just might not like that. That's not your style. That's not your thing. I mean, I got to be honest here. There's people, and I don't know who'd want this for their game. I guess maybe for storytelling is where this would come in handy. There's people who don't like different skin colors. I mean, if you're going to do a life simulation game, you have to decide, do you want to reflect life or not? And so all those sort of options are not included. Even things like, I guess, I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see if this does play in, because hearing aids and stuff in game are really just an accessory. So I know you can designate clothing that you don't like certain types of clothing. So would you be able to say, I'm not interested in someone wearing a hearing aid? I don't know. I don't know who wouldn't be. I mean, I really do think those sort of things like skin color and stuff is stupid. You know what I mean? I do personally. And if someone had a hearing aid in, that would not concern me at all. But some people may feel that way, or some people, like I said, for storytelling especially, that might be where that would come in. Like, is a sim going to treat my sim who has a hearing aid differently? Because in real life, it probably does happen. Okay, that's the fact of the matter is in real life, it does happen. So if you want to tell that story, you want to tell the story of your life, or you want to tell the story of a life you would have liked to have, where maybe someone didn't like you that you liked because of factors like that. But in the end, there was a happy ending. In the end, there was a romantic ending, and you really can't tell that without those sort of additions that make Sims treat you differently. Then I guess you're a little bit of a loss. But that is kind of the traits, or not the traits, the turn-ons, turn-offs. I want to say traits because basically it's based so much on traits, right? The turn-ons, turn-offs, and then on things like, things we have built into the game. Then we do jump into the world at long last, Maxis. Thanks for finally kind of showing us some of the world. It's taken forever, you guys. It's been like a month almost we've known about this pack. Well, longer than that with the leaks. And we haven't seen the world yet. The world, the reason why we haven't seen it, I've already touched on this, is it's kind of nondescript. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It looks fine. It doesn't look like Mexico to me, per se. It looks pretty generic. It looks pretty bland. And I felt the same way about Tomarang, where Tomarang, to me, didn't really feel like Southeast Asia. There are a few touches that were thrown in with Tomarang, and there's a few touches thrown in here. I'll throw some pictures up as I'm talking about it, along with the video that's running, but there's a couple of murals, one carved in stone and then two that are painted. The two painted ones they talk about, they hired a Mexican artist. It escapes me, but it's in the live stream, and good for them for doing that. And the murals I do like. They do look really cool. I love that when downtowns do that and when cities do that. And so as far as that goes, I really love that. I think that's really great. There's two of them. Okay, there's two of those. And then you have the carved stone kind of mural on the wall. I love that too. It looks really good. Whoever created that at Maxis or wherever, it does look good. But here's the deal. You've got 3 murals and essentially some flags and maybe like a handful of knickknacks coming up, a handful of clutter items. That's culture in this pack. That's your Mexican culture there. That defines this city as Mexico City. Okay. I don't see it that way. I really don't. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with this community. I don't think I'm going to play in it much. We'll see how it goes. But there's nothing here that says, wow, I should really play here instead of Newcrest, with the exception that there are 2 new penthouse lots, of course. A big deal. That's been touched on a lot. I'm really happy for that. I love the small downtown that they're in. The downtown's very cool. All 4 lots are very close together. So when you leave your penthouse, you're going to feel like you really are in a city core, right? Because the other places you're going are nearby. There's still a loading screen, but they are nearby, and it does have that visual feel. A lot like, it reminds me a little bit of the fashion district in San Myshuno. Again, I really like that because everything feels very close together and you have that urban feel. So I do like that downtown. And if I play anywhere in this town, it'll probably be in the downtown, even though the penthouse lots are really small. I did design 2 penthouses for those lots, but even though they're really small, I might still play downtown. And I will say this, maybe the smaller penthouse lots allow someone to live there as a sim with less income than it takes in San Myshuno, because San Myshuno takes like a fortune to live on a penthouse lot, right? Your sim's really not going to live there to start the game. So maybe with these, you might even, maybe you could start like rags to riches and pitch a tent, right, on top of a skyscraper and eventually build it up into a house. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. Now that I say that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to have the penthouse rags to riches where you start out on an empty lot with a tent on top of a skyscraper. The other neighborhood is the one there. I'm highlighting it now with the park. I would maybe build there simply because it feels like kind of a downtown adjacent neighborhood. There's a lot of sort of low-rise towers type of apartment living. And I think with the right sort of builds, you could build it into a real sort of urban feel, like a downtown or a financial core adjacent urban build. Like if you look at, let's say, Los Angeles, like downtown Los Angeles, you have like a urban sort of financial core of skyscrapers. But, surrounding that is still a lot of downtown that is a lot more kind of low-rise towers, right? And a low-rise feel. Not a suburban feel. It's still urban, but a little bit less high density, right? So I might play there because there's larger lots there, and it would be easy to put in some skyscraper looking sort of builds, or low-rise tower looking sort of apartment builds using for rent, put in some commercial activity, put a nightclub there. You're going to have ways of kind of dressing that up into a little sort of quasi downtown adjacent neighborhood. The third neighborhood is a suburban neighborhood. I'll probably never really use it. I don't even know if I'm even going to build anything there. That is where the no-tell motel rabbit hole is. I'll probably go and look at it one time, like I did with the movie theater in San Sequoia, right? Probably go there one time, look at it one time, and then that's it. I don't like rabbit holes. I've said that over and over again. I will accept them in certain cases, like downtown, there's a little florist shop. And if that's a rabbit hole where we can go buy flowers and gifts, that's fine with me. You walk up to it, you click on it, you make your selections on a sheet of paper, right? And you get the stuff. Now, would I like it like in the Sims 2 where you could go into a store and go to the racks and purchase stuff that way? Sure, I would like that. Would I prefer that? Yeah, I would prefer that. But I'll accept a rabbit hole in those cases because it's a relatively minor interaction to do those sort of things. So and I'm glad that they at least put something there so there's a little more activity in that area. There's also a food cart there, which I love that. But yeah, I mean, by and large, a rabbit hole is a hotel. No, I'm not going for that. And if that's their answer to hotels and resorts, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm over it. Not with the game. I don't hate the game. I don't hate the development team, but I'm done and over, I guess, with hoping for hotels and resorts. I guess that's it. So the world, nondescript, kind of generic. I think it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's also nothing really all that special about it. Okay, in this case, we jump into the world mostly to try out I guess the meat of this pack, which are the romantic interactions and sort of the new romance system, right? So we jump in to do that, and we meet a couple at the gymnasium. And the gym looks okay, by the way. That was I think someone built that, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. I think they had a Mexican creator build it. I never really keep very many builds in the game. I'm probably not going to keep this one. No offense to anybody. But, you know, it looks okay. It's a gym. There is new gym equipment. I don't know why. I don't know why we have new skins for the gym equipment. I really don't. I don't think we needed that. I mean, I don't know that building gyms is really high on people's list. I don't see a lot of gyms, constantly showing up on the gallery. Why not pour those resources into more furniture for homes? Maybe. I don't know. That's my guess on that. But you do get that. And no, there are no free weights. We don't have any new exercise styles or new exercise types. I didn't think we would from the start. The free weights just look like a decorative item, and that is what they are. They're just a decorative item. But getting back to our couple, they're supposed to exhibit, how well this system works, and the exhibit they put on doesn't work very well. So they have this couple. One person's attracted to one person. The other person's not attracted at all. Okay. They find the other person very unattractive, right? Nonetheless, they have a medium range friendship bar and a medium range romance bar, right? Even though this person finds them very unattractive. So they come in and like the lady, the female, the heroine of our story, she asks her partner, how attractive do you find me? And he says, well, I don't find you attractive at all. Now, here's the thing. Here's the breakdown in this. There's several breakdowns in this. First of all, the animations don't look any different to me when he says he finds her unattractive. It looks like the same thing. In fact, what he actually does, what actually happens is a little card pops up, which is what The Sims is becoming, a bunch of little cards that you're supposed to read what's going on. You're supposed to read what's happening because you can't tell from looking at the screen. So this little card pops up and he's like, yeah, no, I find you very unattractive. But at the same time, what he's actually doing, or like immediately following this up, this card pop up, right, is he's flirting with her. He's flirting with her. They have a flirting interaction, which she receives receptively, and they have a romance boost. You can see the little green heart pop up, right? The little green heart pop up. So it's not sarcastic that he's being, they're both getting a romance boost from this, even though he just told her he finds her very unattractive. And she has no reaction to it. She doesn't get sad, worried, concerned, nothing. She's still just flirty, and he's flirting with her. And so really, I mean, if you're a real person and the person you're involved with, you say, so do you find me attractive? They're like, no, I find you very unattractive. And they mean it, because in the game, the Sims mean it. In theory, they're supposed to mean it. That's what this is about. They mean it. And you don't have a reaction. You don't have a reaction. Yeah, now the card may tell you did. The card may say, oh, she's really upset, really, because it looks like she's flirty. I don't think there was a card in this case, but coming up, there's some cards like that, just some posts that tell you what's going on, which really, I don't need you to tell me what's going on, Maxis. I need you to design a game so I can tell what's going on for myself just by looking at their actions, what they're doing. So in this case, they're flirty. They have a flirty interaction. Doesn't make any sense with what she asked him, right? Following that up, they have this male sim go and flirt with another woman because this particular female sim, that's one of her boundaries, right? No flirting with anybody else, no kissing anybody else, no woohooing anybody else, right? And he flirts with this other sim, and a card pops up and it says that the female sim is very upset, right? And that if he does this again, she might break up with him. Okay. Does she go tell him that? No. Does she confront him in any way? No. She does walk off and she gets a little sad, which I guess you could view as kind of realistic. Maybe she doesn't want to make a scene at the gym. But in reality, the fact of the matter is that's just not programmed in there. She is upset by his infidelity, flirting with someone else. And he doesn't notice that she's upset at all either. He doesn't seem to notice. Nothing takes place on his part. Now his back is to her, so okay. But they go and they have him do it again, and she decides to break up with the male sim, right? Now, again, you get these cards that tell you she's decided this, which I'm going to say this. That is kind of cool that a sim can autonomously do that, right? You don't have to wait for the player to actually break them up, I guess. But I don't feel like it's all that much different. You know, usually your friendship and romance bars will decay a lot if you have those sort of interactions and your sim's really jealous. And so to say that, you know, this doesn't really feel that new, and they do nothing new. Okay, you get a card that tells you she broke up with him and she's very sad. And if she does get too sad, she will die of a broken heart. That's also new. That's kind of cool. That would at least be a reaction, right? Because in this case, again, she does not go confront him. She does not walk up to him and say, I'm through with you. I'm breaking up with you. It's over. That does not happen. The card tells you it happened. And again, I guess you can pretend as a player, you can imagine off screen for some reason. Why would you imagine it happens off screen? I don't know, because the game's turning into a rabbit hole. But you can imagine off screen, I guess maybe they had a discussion by phone or at home or something where she's like, listen, I'm over this. I'm breaking up with you. Even though it happens immediately there in front of you. A card tells you it happened immediately there in front of you anyway. And that's it. And that's going to be a big failing of this pack. It doesn't feel any different. They didn't do anything, right? Giving me a card and telling me she's upset. Well, I mean, yeah, she's sad. That was a change. She's very sad. She's very sad. You can see that. I'm looking at her on my screen right now. You can see she's very sad, right? But again, that's almost the same thing as getting a card up in the corner that says she's very sad, so she broke up with him. There's nothing here where she went and confronted him, told him they were breaking up. Nothing else happened. And that's a little bit of a hallmark of what goes on here. She goes on to a nightclub to meet someone. We see a few new features, like she can give out a romantic aura, right? So it makes everyone around her more flirty. I don't know if that works everywhere or just nightclubs. It seems like that'd be just a nightclub thing, but I guess you could go to the grocery store and be like super flirty, right? And everyone around you's like, oh, they're really into me. Maybe I should be into them. You know, maybe I don't want to grocery shop today. Maybe that cucumber was a hint. Maybe that was fate telling me something. Okay, or that eggplant. Maybe that eggplant. Yeah, that was telling me something. That was fate. That was God giving me a hint by putting eggplants on sale today. So anyway, she does that. That is a new feature. Again, it's a fairly minor animation, and then everybody gets a flirty moodlet change, right? Or vaguely flirty moodlet change. Also, you can do a read the room interaction, which, again, you get the same animation of this sort of starburst out from her, and she can then tell which people in the room are interested, right? Which people might be interested in her or which she might be interested in. These little icons pop up on their heads. So there's a small interaction there. There's a small indication of what's happening, but then otherwise the rest of it feels very pedestrian. It feels very much like what we are doing in game. You go to a club and you talk to someone, and I'm not even sure that the whole read the room thing is a good idea, because it's going to make it too easy to interact with people. Is that going to take some of the drama out of it? Is that going to take some of the surprise out of it, that you go up to someone and you talk to them and they're interested because you read the room, instead of finding out, oh, whoops, surprise. Yeah, I thought this sim was really cute, but they're totally not into me. They do not think I'm cute, right? So it feels almost like a way to protect against that, because a lot of times in The Sims 4, it does feel like there's a lot of, let's protect the player to make sure they don't get too upset, instead of just having some surprises and drama, right? I mean, it's so funny. I see so much marketing in the past that said, oh, I love the drama in The Sims. Really? How did you find it? How did you get there? Because it seems like so often we do get warnings, and it takes forever for bad stuff to happen. So in this case, I'm not sure that's a good idea. There's a few more highlights of Cupid Corner. Once again, that is the major addition of this pack, Cupid's Corner. So you see a few more highlights of that, right? You get this expansion of it where it really shows exactly how it works. And I guess when you go in and you set up your profile, you can take a selfie, or a sim can take a selfie of themselves. And based on the photography skill, it might be good or bad, but I would assume if it's bad, you just retake it, right? I mean, surely you wouldn't put a bad picture of yourself up there just because. Okay, it's becoming daylight here in the state of Oklahoma, so I went ahead and adjusted my lighting settings here in the room and for this video because it was starting to look a little weird on my screen, the screen where I see myself. Okay. That's about the only new information that really comes out of this as far as Cupid's Corner goes. It shows where everything we've seen. Flip through your matches. You can save them. You can save up to 15 matches. The one thing that I noticed that it seems odd to me, and I don't know why this limit is put into place, unless it's just to give modders something to do because they'll probably modify it, but you can only interact with like 3 sims per day on the app. Why would that be the case? Because I know guys been on Grindr, literally interacted with most of the town in a day. So why in the world would you limit it to 3? Again, unless you just want to give modders something to do, because I'm sure MC Command Center will probably have an option where you can interact with as many as you want per day. I don't see a reason for that, but that's the other thing we kind of learn with this app. I will say this, it's really interesting. They didn't show how it interacts with the gallery. They didn't show how you can choose sims from the gallery. That seems odd to me. So I'm worried, is it not work? Is it not working yet? Or is there some problem? Or were they just worried about what was going to pop up on the screen? I don't know. But that kind of worries me because that's a big feature of this new app is that you can connect directly to the gallery and see sims from the gallery. So I don't know. She finds somebody though, and then she does a create a date and she does these different selections. Create a date is just preset selections. So it doesn't matter what packs you have. Maxis has decided what activities you can choose for your date. They're already loaded in. And if you buy something new in the future, a new expansion pack with a new activity in it, guess what? Unless they add that in, unless they update it, then it's not going to be on the selection list. And how often do they really update things? We still can't take toddlers to restaurants, right? So, you can work around it, but using the game as it's supposed to be used, you still can't take toddlers to restaurants. Pretty much the activities you can choose to do are all base game activities, or maybe there's a couple with this pack that came with this pack. And then I think what they showed was maybe 3 or 4 other activities that were tied into weather and I think pets. So those 2 packs got a few additions in there. And it kind of makes me wonder now, did we get the dartboard added to game for free simply to give more things to do? I didn't notice if that was on the list, but that does kind of make me wonder that because they've already programmed in there. You're not going to be able to choose much beyond that. And some of it's pretty broad still. It's not super narrowed down to what you can and can't choose. You're basically looking at like social interactions. Okay, well, that could be anything. And romantic interactions, same thing. That could be anything. And in one case, this is the weird thing. They chose dancing. And yet the option on the date goal list, talk about dancing. Okay, so you're not going dancing. You're not going to dance. You're going to talk about dancing. And in fact, if you look at this picture here, everything for the date was just talking. Okay, we're supposed to be picking activities, right? New activities. Yay. Set the date the way you want to set it. All the activities were talking. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Social interactions were all talking. The romance stuff was all talking. Talk about romance, I think it said even or something like that. And then talk about dancing. You selected dancing for your date, and the game says go out to a nightclub and talk about dancing. I know, let's talk about it. Should we dance? Maybe we should dance. I don't know. Do you like dancing? I like dancing. Maybe we should dance. We should think about dancing. Maybe for our next date, we'll dance. I don't know. Again, all these activities, because they're base game, we've had them for a really long time, okay? Even the ones in the packs, unless you're really new to the game, you haven't bought these packs yet. Pets and seasons are both really popular, so a lot of people have them. Those activities you've already done over and over and over, and doing them in a date isn't any different. It's just going to look slightly different, but it's not any different. The reactions aren't different. The interactions aren't different. The results aren't different because when you do them, you get closer to your goal, and that's it. So this big change for the dates, it's nice, I guess, to a limited extent. It's not as great as I thought it was going to be. It is not as customizable as I thought it was going to be. And I'm actually a little bit disappointed in the setup, but okay. It's like basically you're throwing a date as a party. You can also invite one guest. Now I figured, knowing how things go, you'd invite up to 8 guests because that's already programmed into the party system. But you can only invite one guest, which I guess is actually good. Sometimes people do invite a guest on a first date. So, but sometimes it is a good idea. I understand that, especially if you don't know them and you met them online, you haven't interacted with them much. Sometimes it is a good idea to bring a friend along with you. So I get that. And I think it's good that is in the game as far as that goes. Another good change is that there's a sort of pie menu you can choose during the date to alter the date. So you can end the date. Basically, it's just ending the date in basic ways, except there is one thing where you can change the venue of the date. I do really like that. So you can set up things that take place at different venues. I love that. In fact, that's a really great addition. I'm very happy with that. The other things when it comes to ending the date, I guess it's going to lead to a slightly different mood reaction towards your sim, but you can always end something early in the game. Click up there, end the damn thing, go home, right? But yeah, I guess there's going to be probably some new animations that go along with that. Oh, which is fine. That's good too. But I really like to change the venue. They do change venue on their date. They go to the park in game. I thought this gazebo was going to be a carousel. I knew it was too hopeful. I knew I was reaching there. I knew I was hoping so bad. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? We get this park and it has a carousel and you're on a date. You're going to ride the carousel. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. It's just a gazebo on top, where you can do the standard base game park activities like play chess. And then on the bottom, it's kind of not really a club, although it has a bar. It's kind of I guess maybe like a shop. I guess you could call it kind of a snack bar. Let's call it a snack bar. I don't know. I guess it doesn't auto-populate with a sim though, right? So you're just going to make everything yourself or hire a sim yourself and pay $100 for them to show up, which would have been really nice if Maxis had included that as an option where you could just auto-populate venues when you put stuff there. So if you make a park and you put a bar in it to have a snack bar, then a bartender will show up without you paying for it, right? Without you paying for it. There are mods to counter that, but it'd be nice if it was codified in game. For some reason here at this park, there is because it's a live stream, I know that, but there's a giant costume trunk here. We go through that again. The neat thing about it, a little bit of a neat thing, is you can select other people to dress up with you. And I guess you can see where that goes, right? So yeah, you can select probably, I'm gonna guess a group of 8. That's usually the max number in the game of people, or 7 in addition to yourself. Let's say that 7 in addition to yourself that can kind of dress up with you. I don't know if they have to be on lot or if they'll show up in the lot. Probably not. Probably just invite them like you would in any other sort of situation, and they'll show up and go to the costume box and get dressed up. And you can all dance around like fruits and vegetables, right? So there's that. And then the card game is there. The card game can be playable up to 6 people. That's kind of cool. There's a family version and an adult version for it. That's also cool. I do like that. They did not show the Sims playing on the bed, right? That's one thing I really loved from the trailer was the fact that it looked like you could play it outside of a table, because the trailer shows them playing it sitting on a bed. Now in this live stream, of course, it's on a table and they don't actually play it or do anything with it. So I'm guessing this is going to be a whole bunch of a sim looks at a card, same animation we've already seen. A card pops up on the screen and says, your sim got this option. Will they do this? Will they do that? Or maybe your sim has to do it. And it's going to be yet another sort of rabbit hole chance card device. But, maybe it'll be at least a little bit different. If you can play it on a bed or away from a table, I think it'll be nice. I'll really like it a whole lot better. But it worries me because you can't trust a lot of video games. I'm about to say Maxis and EA, but you can't trust a lot of video game companies' marketing, and especially when it says images shown are not in game. Okay, when it says that, so you see two Sims appearing to play this card game on the bed, that doesn't mean that you can do it because they've already disclaimed it. They've already said, well, we told you everything wasn't in game just because you thought you were going to get to do that because that's what we showed. Doesn't mean you do. Right? Doesn't mean you do. Like I think McDonald's should start doing commercials where it says all images not in the bag. All images shown are not in your value meal or whatever. So you see a value meal, looks like a damn buffet, right? And then you get it, and it's a small fry and a small drink and one of those little small burgers, right? I actually like those small burgers a lot. But one of those small burgers, and you're like, wait, did I just pay $12.99 for this? I thought I was getting the buffet. No, sorry. That said, all images shown are not in the bag. Sorry about that. No, except they wouldn't even say sorry. Maybe they might, but half the time corporations don't say sorry because then it's kind of like admitting guilt. And so legally, I guess, but so I don't know if you can play it on the bed. I hope you can. I hope you can play it away from the table. Since 6 Sims can play, it kind of makes sense you might be able to play it in a sort of group setting, maybe even sitting in a living room or something like that. Okay, so more stuff that we already know. They look at the sky. They go back to her place, which is kind of neat because the NPC Sim did autonomously ask, hey, do you want to go back to your place? And so I think that's very cool. Now, that was really cool. I did like that. I like that sort of interaction. I mean, it's not much, but I thought that was really cool that they would autonomously ask that, and then you can decide if you want to do it or not. And so they went back to her place. We find out we get one new radio station, a romance station, and 2 new television channels. Telenovela, I think is what they called it. So it's obviously going to be sort of a Spanish or Mexican, in this case, Mexican-themed television station. And the other channel was Reality Dating Channel, the Reality Dating Channel, which ought to be kind of funny to watch once or twice, right? Ought to be kind of funny thing thrown in there. So those 2 channels. And then they eat some of the chocolate-covered box of stuff. The box of stuff, there's a lot of options. It's not just chocolate-covered strawberries. There's like popcorn balls. Mochi, I noticed, was on the list. You can kind of pause it here on the list. There was a whole bunch of things that kind of were shown. So that's great. Now, I do like that. That's a neat new little interaction. Again, it's kind of small, but I do like it. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm glad that there's more than one choice, more than just chocolate-covered strawberries. That's a good interaction. Then we go into the bedroom. She kind of changes into a costume. They're going to cuddle in bed. We see that interaction. We also see a pretty big glitch during that interaction where because she's in a costume and they get into bed, she suddenly jumps out of bed, flops out of the costume, and falls back in. And not in a natural way like, oh, I forgot I'm in my costume. Let me undress since we're going to cuddle. It's more like a glitch. You can see it. It's a glitch. It looks like a big old glitch. Are they going to fix that, Jason, by next Thursday? What do you think? Maybe. I'm joking. Maybe. Yeah, no, probably not. Probably I don't know, probably never. Yeah, or maybe a year from now when we've all already stopped using that because we're bored of the animation, we're bored of the interaction. And so at that point, it'll be on a list and it'll be like, hey, we fixed it. And people will be like, was it broken? I don't even remember. Was that broken? Oh, okay. Well, great. It's fixed. Maybe I should go try it out again. So you see that glitch and they settle into, some woohoo, I guess. And off we go to see Build Buy. Build Buy I've already touched on. It looks good. I do think it is a good selection of Build Buy. Does it look like Mexico? I mean, again, I would say there's nothing here that really speaks to that. To me, it looks like 1980s type of Best Buy selections. There's also some Art Deco thrown in, but the Art Deco to me also looks like 80s Deco. It's kind of what I refer to it as. It's a sort of there's a little bit of an Art Deco revival in the 80s, especially in furnishings. And so that's what that looks like to me. That's what I think we're seeing. I like it. I really do like it. I like that style. I think it's great to add it to the game. We've had a lot of 80s touches of late, and I think that's really going to kind of flesh that out, right? In fact, I feel like we've had some 80s stuff almost since high school, the high school pack. So it all looks good. There's a great new Art Deco elevator for the penthouse lot. I absolutely adore that. I love that. Of course, we haven't had new elevator skins in ever because, we don't get elevators very much. We don't get lots that require them. So that's super good. I do really, really like that. Overall, the Build Buy, I think, looks good. Like I said, it makes a really great stuff pack. You guys, Makes a really, really great stuff pack with an okay world, and then some new interactions that sometimes are good, sometimes are. It really feels been here, done that with most of the interactions, most of the new additions. It just doesn't feel that new. It doesn't feel that impactful, to be quite honest. And we're swinging into the review here. That's what I feel like. I feel like if you like this stuff and you like the world and you like to build by and all that sort of stuff, and I do a lot of building, I do a lot of storytelling. So for me, probably that's going to work, right? Like, would I buy it at $40? Yeah, I might. I mean, compared to the other entertainment options in my area and what things cost where I live, it might make some sense, right? Because I'm going to get a lot of hours of playtime out of building and storytelling alone. As far as the gameplay options go, I think those are going to feel really retread. They're going to get old really fast because, yeah, okay, you can create your own date, but when you go on that date, you're doing the same damn things you have always done, especially since it so heavily leans on base game activities. And especially since the date isn't really any different because you did those activities. There's no really different outcome. You just succeed in your goal and you get the typical sort of rewards for having a successful event. At the end of the day, you have to make that decision on if it's worth it for you. It depends on what you do with the game, how you do it with the game, and whether, like I said, I would not buy this game. I would not buy this game for the updates to the romance system, for the turn on, turn offs. I wouldn't buy it for any of that. I also wouldn't buy it for the create a date system. I just didn't feel like it was customizable enough. It didn't look like it was going to be that much fun to play around with. And I don't know. It's just kind of a wash. I do like being able to change venues during a date. I do like the Cupid's Corner app. I think that looks cute. But let's face it, Cupid's Corner and being able to change venues on a date, even the create a date system, that could have been a stuff pack. You could have done a dating stuff pack with those two items, and that would have been $10 at most. With most of your build buy and most of the cast items and stuff you're seeing in this pack, I think you really could have done that. Now, it wouldn't have included the world. Although, honestly, this as a game pack would have been a good choice. I hate using those terms any longer because they don't seem to mean anything any longer. That would have been a good choice if you'd done just a downtown area with 5 lots, maybe an extra penthouse lot or an apartment building as a 5th lot. And you did just the downtown core, okay, and the rest of this pack and left off all the rest of that world. It would have been a game pack. That's the way I feel. Like maybe 5 years ago, it would have been a game pack. So for $40, you make the decision if you think it's worth it. I probably would buy it and not think it was entirely worth it, but I probably would still buy it because I wanted the new stuff. Okay, that's it. And I will use Cupid's Corner. I do think that's kind of neat. There's a blind date kind of option there and stuff. I think that's kind of cool. I do like that. So I will use Cupid's Corner. I'll use the change venue thing with the date. I think that's very cool. And a few other minor things like we'll see. We'll see. So that's it. That's my take on it. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify. Comment down below. What do you think? Do you think it's worth it? Are you going to wait for a sale? Or are you going to wait for never? Maybe you think it's just not worth it at all. You're not interested in these styles. You're not interested in what it has to offer. I think that's great. I think you definitely should make your own decision there. So yeah, down below, comment. What do you think? Do you want it? Do you not want it? Do you want it at half price or 3/4 off, 75% off? Wait for a sale. But when you're commenting, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. Watch for my Lovestruck videos coming out shortly. We're going to follow the Villages retirement community as they look for love, right? As they look for love, Lovestruck seniors. And we'll do a series called One Night at the Disco where we follow each of them. So that was it. Thank you for now for watching.